Hey everyone, Kevin here. A core component of the instructional design process is conducting needs analyses to ensure that issues are even training problems, which I covered in a video several weeks ago. What I realize that I have yet to discuss, though, is the dangers of not conducting a needs analysis before starting development on a training course or program. Before I get too into this, I do want to point out that there will be instances where you simply don't have the time to conduct one effectively. This is most true when it comes to companies with rapidly changing processes and very short deadlines. There were times in my last position that were like this, and we instead ended up with training plans that weren't always clear and ended up causing complications down the line. But I'm already getting ahead of myself. So let's get into the nitty gritty here on what happens when you fail to ensure that a thorough needs analysis has been completed before development. Number one, misalignments will inevitably happen, which is basically a fancy way of saying the training won't match what was intended. This can take numerous different forms too, such as the misalignments I often ran into in my last job, where the information I put into the course often ended up not matching with the constant changes at the company. So this would necessitate more time and money being committed in fixing those problems instead of preventing it from happening in the first place. Misalignments could also lead to far worse problems than just some incorrect text. It could also refer to a course not matching business goals and objectives. This often takes the form of a company wanting to grow in a certain area, say sales as an example, but without the needs analysis, we won't know what skills really need improvement to reach that organizational goal. Everyone just gets frustrated when that happens too. Believe me, I've seen it. Number two, the obvious one would be an inefficient use of time and personnel, which I already touched on briefly. Creating training is expensive when it really comes down to it, and companies naturally want a return on that investment. Not having a needs analysis completed often leads to unnecessary trainings that either don't help the learner gain the needed skills or end up being redundant. I've seen that last point often over the last couple of years as an ID, where we realized afterwards that the company now had three different courses essentially teaching the same content. All in all, it led to a lot of unneeded work that served no real purpose, and most importantly, wasted time and money. Number three, decreased employee engagement and performance. The whole point of training is to teach skills in interesting ways that leads to workers making new choices on the job, thus leading to better performance. Without doing that needs analysis, you may end up with a training that fails to do all of those things, thus hurting the company's and by extension your ID team's reputation. Not having the skills needed to succeed leads to employees not trusting the company, disengaging, and customers getting angry or leaving bad reviews due to poor service. That bad service isn't the employee's fault either if they didn't get the information from their training courses that they needed, but it doesn't change how frustrated everyone involved will be. And finally, number four, lack of adaptability. Things change a lot these days, especially with constantly emerging technologies, and not conducting needs analyses leads to trainings that don't evolve with the times and fail to accurately identify new skill gaps as they form. As things change, learners need new skills to effectively do their jobs, and pushing something out the door without knowing what they needed will result in a training that doesn't meet those new skill gaps, just the older ones that were reported by a stakeholder in the original training request. In the long run, that can seriously slow down the company's progress and hinder growth both personally and professionally. As a result, new opportunities may slip away and further fuel that decrease in employee engagement and performance we just went over. Remember, even though I agree that needs analyses are inherently annoying and time consuming, you will actually end up with a far better training down the line that grows the skills that the learners need and leads to organizational growth and success. Without one, the training may not effectively accomplish what it originally set out to. So make sure to do one and have a template ready to make it go even faster. But that's it for today. As always, if you need any help or have some questions for me, please don't hesitate to reach out. I'm always here to help. See you next time.